welcome to Uncovering the Litanies. This is your co-host, Nick DeLorenzo, bringing you the first episode of our Prayers for the Faithful series. This series is just going to be me and Luke bringing you a prayer each week that has been influential in our prayer lives, or that we love, or we just want to bring to you guys. So today I have picked the Mary Undoer of Knots prayer. I did not know a lot about the history of this prayer, but my parents had showed it to me, and it just became part of my everyday prayer routine. And she has helped me out a lot, and I have a lot of stories of when I have just been not in a good place, or I needed something desperately and I felt like nothing was going to work out. And I prayed this prayer and I asked Mary to help me, and she came through, and miraculously everything was all right. So the devotion to Mary, Undoer of Knots, actually has roots in the early church dating back to the 2nd century. So the roots begin with Saint Irenaeus, and he is an early church father who lived from the year 130 AD to 201. So he was a bishop and a martyr, and he, in his writings against heresies, he wrote, "The knot of Eve's disobedience was loosed by the obedience of Mary." Now, the devotion to Mary Undoer of Knots and the title Mary Undoer of Knots did not begin here, but we can sort of see that image of Mary untying the knots and taking away the burdens of her children. But in this particular circumstance, we see Mary undoing the knot of Eve's disobedience. But the actual devotion to Mary Undoer of Knots and the title Mary Undoer of Knots came from the 17th century and began with a German nobleman named Wolfgang Langenmantel. So Wolfgang Langenmantel was married to a woman named Sophie Emoff, and sadly their marriage was falling apart. So when this was happening, he began to meet with a priest named Father Jacob Rem. And Father Jacob had actually been known to have seen apparitions of Mary before this occurrence. So they began meeting and praying together, and Father Jacob, was giving him spiritual direction. And on their last visit, on September 28th, 1611, they were praying together in a chapel called Our Lady of the Snows. So Wolfgang and this priest were praying, and the priest had asked him to bring in his wedding ribbon. Now, during that time in Germany, when a couple was married, a ribbon was tied around both of their arms to signify the invisible bond between husband and wife. So Wolfgang brought Father Jacob this ribbon, and as they were praying together, Father Jacob lifted up this ribbon and began untying all of the knots that are in the ribbon. And as he's doing this, the ribbon begins glowing with this intense white light. And when he was finished, the ribbon was just pure white. So after after this event, Wolfgang and his wife Sophie, their marriage just flourished. They stopped having problems, and their family was reunited again. So very good story. So Wolfgang's grandson, Hieronymus Ambrosius Langenmantel, who eventually became a doctor of canon law, and he was a priest, donated the Langenmantel family altar to the Church of St. Peter am Burlock in Augsburg. So when he donated this family altar, he commissioned a painter named Johann Melchior Georg Schmidtner. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he commissioned this painter to make a painting for the family altar. And we have this famous image of Mary Undoer of Knots, and that's actually where it comes from the Langenmantel family. But if you look at it, we see Our Lady, and she's standing on the head of the serpent, which is the famous image of her crushing the serpent. And we see sort of what looks like an angel, but it's actually Wolfgang Langenmantel off to the right, holding up this white ribbon for Mary to untie the knots. So, just a little background of it. And this is really where the devotion began. And this is when people began praying to Our Lady, Undoer of Knots, for help, and specifically began calling their problems knots and asking Mary to untie them. Sort of this really cool image. So, what's actually super cool is that this prayer and this devotion was made popular a lot in part by our own Pope Francis. And he brought this devotion to Argentina, which is where he is from, in the late 1980s. And and specifically in Argentina, it remains very popular, and it's popular. I don't know what to say. And so the devotion was also spread through the efforts of Brother Mario H. Ibertis Rivera, and he was authorized by the Vatican to use this Mary Undoer of Knots painting for Vatican publishing. So just a cool little tidbit of information. But let's just get right into the prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Virgin Mary, Mother of fair love, Mother who never refuses to come to the aid of a child in need, Mother whose hands never cease to serve your beloved children, because they are moved by the divine love and immense mercy that exist in your heart. Cast your compassionate eyes upon me and see the snarl of knots that exist in my life. You know very well how desperate I am, my pain, and how I am bound by these knots. Mary, Mother to whom God entrusted the undoing of the knots in the lives of his children, I entrust into your hands the ribbon of my life. No one, not even the evil one himself, can take it away from your precious care. In your hands there is no knot that cannot be undone. Powerful Mother, by your grace and intercessory power, with your Son and my Liberator, Jesus, take into your hands today this knot. So right here we can mention our knots or our struggles that we are dealing with, that we are giving to Mary to untie. I beg you to undo it for the glory of God, once for all. You are my hope. O my Lady, you are the only consolation God gives me, the fortification of my feeble strength, the enrichment of my destitution, and, with Christ, the freedom from my chains. Hear my plea. Keep me, guide me, protect me, O safe refuge. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So, first of all, just a really awesome prayer. And I really do like the sort of novena-esque pattern it has, where you pray and then you have a request and then you conclude the prayer. There is actually a novena to Our Lady Undoer of Knots, and this actually may be one of the prayers, but I like to isolate this one in particular just because it's sort of sums up the devotion and our requests to Mary, and yeah. So anyway, I do have many stories which I'm not going to share, but they're just, a lot of them are sort of petty things, just like things that sort of stressful things in my life. But I can assure you that Mary Undoer of Knots comes through, and she will come through in a lot of tight circumstances. But thank you so much for listening to our episode today, and I will see you next time on Uncovering the Litanies.